Today we'll be looking at the COLAMY Atlas. Now I've gotten a ton of comments from people asking me to review this chair, and after using it for the past few months, I can definitely see why. Coming in at around $280 on Amazon, the COLAMY Atlas is without a doubt the best office chair under $300 that I've ever tested. In fact, I'm actually really surprised that COLAMY can even sell it at this price because this chair actually feels more like a $500 chair in my opinion. In this video, I'll be giving you my full review of the COLAMY Atlas after testing it for the past few months. We'll dive into all the key features, highlighting everything I liked about the chair, as well as the things that I didn't like, so by the end you'll have a clear idea of whether it's going to be the right fit for you. But before we dive in, I just want to mention that I bought this chair with my own money. This video isn't sponsored, but I will have some affiliate links in the description. If you find this review helpful and want to check this chair out, please consider using those links as it really helps support the channel at no extra cost to you. So with that out of the way, let's get right into the review, starting with the design. Right off the bat, you'll notice that the COLAMY Atlas looks surprisingly premium for a chair in this price range. Most budget office chairs tend to look pretty generic and cheap, but the Atlas actually has a clean, modern aesthetic that you typically only see in much more expensive chairs. Everything from the backrest shape to the seat to the base feels cohesive and well thought out. There's a nice uniform look from top to bottom that really makes it stand out from other sub $300 chairs on the market. Now, it's not the most flashy design, but I think the modern aesthetic and neutral colors makes it so it'll fit in pretty much any setup, whether it's a gaming setup or a professional office environment. When it comes to materials and build quality, the COLAMY Atlas is incredibly solid for the price point. It uses a heavy-duty single-piece metal and nylon base, which is pretty uncommon to see in sub $300 chairs. Most budget chairs will either use a cheaper all-plastic base or a multi-piece base that you need to screw together so that they can fit it into a small box to save on shipping. The armrests also use metal components that are sturdy and have very little play. When it comes to the seat, it has a well-padded seat cushion that's very supportive. The foam density feels just right. Not so soft that it bottoms out, but also not so firm that it becomes uncomfortable during long sitting sessions. The backrest and headrest use a mesh material that's also pretty high quality and have good elasticity. It looks and feels almost identical to the Eurotech Vera, which is a $500 chair. As for the frame, it uses a dense plastic material that's sturdy and all the components fit together really nicely. There's really no creaking or wobbling at all with the Atlas. And like I said, this is by far the most sturdy feeling office chair I've tested under $300. Overall, I'd say the build quality on this chair actually competes with chairs that cost twice as much. This really does not feel like a sub $300 chair. It feels much more like a $500 to $600 chair, and I'm honestly pretty surprised that COLAMY can even sell a chair like this for under $300 and still make money on it. Now let's move on to the actual comfort of the chair, starting with the seat. The seat on the COLAMY Atlas is very comfortable in my opinion. It uses a relatively firm cushion that strikes a nice balance between support and comfort. It has a good amount of padding with some give to it, so you don't have to worry about it bottoming out even during long sitting sessions. Now, one standout feature with the Atlas is the seat pan depth adjustment system. It actually reminds me a lot of the Steelcase Gesture, which is a $1,500 chair. It uses a smooth, responsive dial adjustment mechanism that you can easily adjust while sitting in the chair. And what's really nice about this implementation is that you essentially get infinite positions, so you can really dial it in exactly where you need it depending on your leg length. This design also eliminates any play in the seat pan, which is actually a common issue even in some premium chairs like the Steelcase Leap. Another thing I really like about the seat is that even when you extend the seat pan all the way out, you really don't feel a gap between the seat and the backrest. Again, this is something that even high-end chairs struggle with, so it's really impressive to see it done right on a budget chair. Overall, this is one of the best implementations of a seat pan depth adjustment I've seen in any chair, regardless of the price. And like I said, even high-end chairs like the Steelcase Leap, Herman Miller Embody, and Hayworth Fern have issues with the seat pan depth adjustment. So it's really nice to see that attention to detail on a chair that's a fraction of the price. The seat edges are fully padded, making it comfortable for various sitting positions. If you're someone who likes to sit cross-legged or with one leg tucked under the other, then you won't feel any hard frame edges digging into your legs. The waterfall front edge also helps prevent your legs from coming into contact with the front of the seat, promoting better circulation during long sitting sessions. Now, one minor gripe I have with the seat shape is that it kind of tapers off at the sides, which makes this sittable area feel a bit smaller. Now, it's not the biggest deal since the entire seat itself doesn't have any hard edges, but it would make it feel more spacious if the seat pad had a flatter shape instead. Moving on to the backrest, the design is actually very similar to the Eurotech Vera, which is one of my favorite $500 office chairs. It has a natural S-curve to match the shape of your spine that provides excellent support for your lower back. It gives you a really good balance of elasticity and support. It's taut enough so that you don't really feel the hard plastic frame underneath, which is a common issue with mesh backrests. At the same time, you can still kind of sink into it a bit, giving you a nice suspended feel that's not too firm. The frame design is also really well thought out. It's wide enough to prevent your shoulder blades from hitting the outer frame, and you can also spread your arms out without crashing into it. You also have a little bit of flexibility in the frame, which allows you to move around throughout the day. Now, one thing to note about the mesh is that it can feel slightly coarse and might catch on loose woven clothing. Now, this isn't a major issue, but definitely something to be aware of if you tend to wear delicate fabrics. The chair does come with a height adjustable lumbar support system with a good adjustment range. My issue with it is that it's made of all plastic with no padding, so it can feel pretty pokey and can dig into your back. Honestly, I don't even think this chair really needs this lumbar support and would probably be better without it. The natural curve of the backrest already provides good lumbar support similar to the Eurotech Vera, which is one of the most comfortable backrests I've used despite not having an adjustable lumbar support at all. And when it comes to the recline, the Atlas uses a synchro tilt mechanism that feels very smooth. You get a deep recline angle, which is great for lounging, and the chair maintains good stability throughout the entire range of motion. One thing I really appreciate about this chair is the placement of all the adjustment mechanisms. The tilt tension knob is responsive and easy to reach while sitting in the chair, which is great since I'm someone who needs to frequently adjust the tilt tension depending on what I'm doing. Now, this might seem like a small detail, but most budget office chairs really mess this up. They often put the tilt tension knob in awkward spots like under the seat, which makes it impossible to adjust without getting out of the chair. You can also lock the chair in a reclined position, which is good for lounging since you won't need to engage any muscles to maintain the position. The armrests on the Atlas are pretty good compared to other chairs in this price range, but are not without their flaws. The metal construction makes them very sturdy with minimal wobbling in play. This is good if you're someone who tends to push off of the arms either to shift positions or to get up out of the chair. You get full 4D adjustability with height, width, depth, and pivot adjustments, and the range of motion on each of these adjustments is pretty generous. The level of adjustability is actually really good for this price point. Most budget chairs only offer height adjustment or at best a 3D adjustment, but with the Atlas, you have plenty of adjustability options, so you can really use them in pretty much any way you would need to. They also go low enough so that you can get them out of the way when you're not using them. That said, while these arms have good adjustability, I do have some issues with the actual adjustment mechanisms themselves. Now, while they're easy to use, I find that they don't actually hold their position all too well. Because the arm pads slide around so easily, I often find myself accidentally bumping them out of position, which is really annoying. I definitely wish they had a little bit more resistance to them, or would at least lock into place with a button or something. And when it comes to the actual arm pads themselves, I'm not the biggest fan. They're just a bit too hard and stiff in my opinion. There's a little bit of give, but not enough to make them comfortable when you're really digging your elbows into them. Now, I'd say they're fine for kind of regular upright tasking, but really not ideal for lounging. Another issue I have with these arms is that they're positioned a little bit too far forward in my opinion. This creates a pretty big gap between the arms and the backrest when you're reclining, which can make them awkward to use in certain positions. However, despite these minor issues, they're still better than most armrests you'll find in this price range, mainly due to their stability and adjustability options. That said, compared to how good the rest of the chair is, I think the armrests are probably one of its weakest features. The headrest on the COLAMY Atlas is actually really good. It's three-way adjustable with height, depth, and pivot adjustments, and the range of motion on these adjustments is pretty good. It uses the same mesh as the backrest, which gives it a consistent look and feel. It's a nice wide headrest, so you don't really have to worry about coming into contact with the frame when moving from side to side. One thing to point out is that the depth adjustment is very stiff. I didn't even realize it had depth adjustment at first because it's so stiff that I didn't think to press on it hard enough. The good thing about this though is that once you get the headrest where you want it, it'll definitely hold its position. And because this headrest is so adjustable, you can comfortably use it in both upright and reclined positions. Some people like to have the headrest up against the back of their head, and others like to have it resting in the crook of their neck for more neck support, and this headrest allows you to do both. I also like that you can move it out of the way when you don't want to use it. Overall, I think the headrest on the Atlas is really good. The adjustability makes it versatile in practically any position, and the quality of the mesh makes it comfortable to use. The COLAMY Atlas comes in at $279, and at this price, I think it offers incredible value. It's better built than pretty much any sub $300 chair out there, and actually competes with chairs that cost twice as much. You get premium features like a metal base and 4D arms, high quality seat cushion and adjustable mechanisms, an adjustable headrest that's comfortable to use, and just overall solid build quality across the board. The Atlas also comes with a 3-year warranty, which is pretty good for this price range. And while it's not quite as good of a warranty as you're going to get from some of the higher end brands, I do expect the Atlas to outlast its warranty just due to how well it's built. Overall, I think the COLAMY Atlas is a really good chair. It's actually amazing that they're able to sell a chair like this for the price they do and still make money on it. I'd say it's definitely the best office chair under $300 that I've tested. And while it's by no means a high-end chair, I would actually prefer this over a lot of the $500 options currently on the market. For around $280, the COLAMY Atlas is an absolute steal and my go-to recommendation for anyone looking for a good ergonomic chair under $300.